So something like a bibliography, because I don't just pull anything that I say, sing, or type out of thin air. People for real just put it straight into my hand and say, here's this piece of a massive puzzle that you get to assemble. So, how I got to the KKK, infiltrating South Carolina's legal realm. But by the time you realize how many South Carolinian gangsters went to the federal level, you understand that it also infiltrated the federal government. But the way I got to it with South Carolina, good old boy, good old boy, good old boy. Everybody says those words, talks those words. Good old. So what's a good old boy, right? Now, I have so many books, and I'll overlay the ones that are relevant to this little speaking video that I'm doing. It was a woman named Nancy Rice or Reese, and something like Tales of the South Carolina Low Country. And okay, so I picked her book up and I picked one story out of it. And she puts me in Beaufort County, South Carolina, which, okay, that's the 14th Circuit, in a cemetery with a decapitated corpse. And the Beaufort County Sheriff is there at that crime scene. And she gives me his name, James Ed McTeer. So I'm like, okay, I've never heard of this man, but it's 1968 and her story. That I guess would have been Alec's grandfather as the solicitor at that point. But one of the Mr. Murdocks was definitely, and I knew that. Like, Beaufort County is in the Murdoch solicitor jurisdiction. So I start researching on Mr. McTeer, the sheriff, because I had never heard of him. He has a book series, 4 books, wonderful book, some of the best books I've ever read, truly fascinating, wonderful, oh my God. Like, I've never stepped foot in South Carolina, and he says, here, let me give you all of it. And I can smell it, I can feel it, it's wonderful. His writing, his authorship, I think the state's probably disgusting and filthy and terrifying, but his authorship, wonderful. Go read his books. Ed McTeer, J.E. McTeer. But I start, and I've got all 4 of them, and I start with the first one. And I actually read these cover to cover because, like, the way I knew that whatever and I went asking him, like, look, everybody's talking about good old boy, good old, can you tell me what a good old boy is? Like, I need to know about the South Carolina legal realm from your perspective. And he's writing in 1971, 2, 3, 4, okay? And in the first book, he tells me, I'm going to tell you about this murder that happened on this train tracks after this poker game. I said, whoa, because here in 2020, it was 2024 when I was reading, but here in the 2020s, they think that man committed suicide. What do you mean? Alec Murdaugh's great-grandfather, was murdered. He said, he was murdered. After the poker game, on the train tracks, 4 men were there. Here they are. And he didn't just spit it out. He literally had to play a head game with me, which, it must be fun. It must be fun. Everybody plays a fucking head game with me. But I mean, he's on paper, so he's allowed. That's part of the fun of writing and reading, is you have to understand what the author is trying to convey, which means that your mind has to be wide open to hear and receive what the author is trying to convey. That's how you read. But he tells me, I'm going to tell you about the murder of the solicitor. And I know that's Alec Murdaugh's great-grandfather. He told me who killed the man. And as I'm sitting, and he doesn't just spell it out, it's literally over the course of 4 books that are giving you a rich history and virtual experience of South Carolina. But it was 75% through the second book, and I'm stuck on Alec Murdaugh's great-grandfather. Like, please tell me more. Just, oh my God, I've never read any. Yes, I have read things like that before. Definitely have. But it was fascinating. It was neat. And he snaps his fingers in my face and he says, you didn't come here for the solicitor's murder. You came here for, I said, for good old boys. What's a good old boy? He said, that's the KKK. He said, and that's who I'm telling you about too. We've been talking about them the whole time. That's this legal realm that you want to know about. That's that. He said, and we are all part of it, whether we like it or not. I don't like it, and I have to do what I have to do as a soul, as a man, to resist it. But I'm stuck in it because that's what it is. So that's James Ed McTeer. His 4 books will let you know. And that's in 1971, 2, 3, 4. And I realized as he was telling me about the KKK, he gave me one name to go research. Go Google this name, he essentially said, even though Google wasn't a thing in the 70s. But as he said it, he was telling me, this is the man that you need to go. Go look at this man and you'll figure it out. And sure enough, it's right there. So, and I'll overlay the page because I don't remember the names. I think it was M.O. Dunning. But he was just a mechanic. I couldn't even find a picture of the dude. He was nothing and nobody, except for when you go and Google him, you'll find him in the Clemson archives. And when you look at him in the Clemson archives, you're going to get to this thing called the Barnwell ring. And when you get to the Barnwell ring, you're going to come up with James Francis Burns, Solomon Blatt, Edgar Allan Brown. Oh, who's that other dude? Jeffrey Richards. I can't remember his name. I think it's Richard Jeffries. Either way. Barnwell ring, which was essentially like a miniature KKK, if not like a clan of grand wizards, is kind of what it seems like. But his whole book series, Mr. McTeer, his whole book series was in response to a biography memoir by Edgar Allan Brown. The Bishop of Barnwell is his nickname, okay? And the title of his book, too, The Bishop of Barnwell. So you can go find his book, read his book. And what he does in his book, Edgar Allan Brown, it's a memoir biography style. So somebody is writing part of it and he's speaking part of it. So in his words, they're italicized on the page. And more than 3 times, so-and-so's a good old fella. I'm sorry. I came looking for the KKK and you're trying to tell me good old fella in 1968, 69? It's the same thing. There's a transition right there where you can see one man is saying our legal realm, police, politicians, all of it, is the Ku Klux Klan. And he implicates the Barnwell ring almost as a grand wizard. And his books are in response to the Bishop of Barnwell. And the Bishop of Barnwell in the late 60s is calling people good old fella. Now the way it works, and I saw this during the evidence and after the trial, but the way it works is if you're a good old boy, you're a bitch. You are the one that has to get your shoulder squeezed real hard. And you get to be told, yeah, that's a good old boy. Okay? The dehumanization, the degradation. But they're all gangsters and criminals anyhow, fucking traitors. Excuse me. But we understand. I don't just say, oh, the legal realm is the KKK. No, there's literal documentation published. A trail of it. Where you can see it go from Klansmen to good old boy. It's the same thing. And they're all stuck in it. And that's what Alec Murdaugh was doing with his bank accounts, was resisting it. Because the good old boys, the KKK, were attacking the constituents, his clients. And then using Alec Murdaugh's law license as a laundry machine. And Alec Murdaugh said, nope. And then his clients weren't getting paid. They were getting killed. So he said, okay, look, the money's in my name. What y'all gonna do? You can't kill these people. Here, you can have your money. I'm sure he was just writing the check over to the annuity payout company, or it literally accumulated to $1.8 billion and just got called Curtis's error like a month ago. Either way. That first bank account, when Alec Murdaugh started his fake forge operation he took those people's money. When that started, that was because his clients were being attacked and then attacked again, killed for their money, the settlement, okay? So as we, regular ass people out here, sit here and get homes, lives, cars, insurance. We are mandated to pay these premiums. And then in South Carolina, they are attacked to loosen up a settlement. Money, million. Alec Murdaugh was known to make huge settlements because the judge would be like, oh, there's the washing machine. Cha-ching. And Alec, he said that ain't cool. And it ain't cool. But as it all echoed out, there's 2 other bank accounts. But that first one, his intention, which a man's intention never transcends, but me coming 100% after the fact, I can go back there and say, no, his intention must have been to put up a resistance. It's the only thing that makes sense for how it all played out. The thing that started it and the thing that finished it are the same fucking thing. And it's all of our enemies. And we're all stuck with it until we say, y'all can quit playing dress up for a living, you know. That mental disorder that you live with, it ain't me. I ain't got it. I see it in you. I recognize that, but I ain't calling that authority. I'm calling that a mass mental disorder. I'm calling that fucking delusional. I'm calling that a grown-ass man playing dress up and having to beat my ass to have authority. You ain't got it. It ain't you. Sorry. What you want me to do? Beat my own ass for you? Fuck off. Excuse me, I've had my ass beat by police for not putting my license in their hand because I didn't want my barcode scanned. So, and I'm not disrespectful or rude to anybody in their face. Like that man who beat my ass, that man murdered me straight up. And I'm in the backseat coming back and my body fucking broken as shit. But I'm just like, couldn't do it, bruh. Sorry, had to be here. Sucks to be you. But, excuse me, I'm sorry. We understand though. South Carolina's legal realm is fucked up. It's nasty. It's foul. Alec Murdaugh is the resistance. Was the resistance. Will always be the resistance. And those bank accounts, you can call it a $1.8 billion error. You can loosen up that money and put it in your pocket. But what you cannot do is make the digital footprint of Alec Murdaugh jacking your shit. You can't make that go away. Couldn't put it on a court record and you can't make it go away either. It's going to always be there. Always. And I know it's there. And you know it's there. And the whole world can know it's there. Because it ain't the only thing there that we all deserve to know about. But that's the reason why we didn't get to know about everything else. So that was the first bank account. Because Alec Murdaugh was putting up resistance to the Ku Klux Klan in 2010s. So, the second bank account. I wasn't even trying to get into fucking Nikki Haley's stupid ass. I can't do this. I cannot do this. I'm sorry, excuse me. I don't even mean to be cussing so much. But with Nikki Haley in Alec Murdaugh's bank accounts, her teeth are in Paul Murdaugh's arm. Because at the crime scene, the killers at the fucking crime scene wanted the bank accounts on the court record because they are not the fucking stupid KKK. And they are not Nikki Haley's dumb ass either. The whole other bank account, the third one. But the second one is Nikki Haley. And that's where Dylann Roof had been weaponized to go kill Clementa Pinckney and 8 other people in that church. But Clementa Pinckney was the target. You can look at that boy's FBI interrogation and the way he says he opened fire. You're sitting in a congregation with your arm at a 165-degree angle. Who's your target? Oh, that's the pastor. That's Senator Pinckney. That's who he was sent to go kill. And Alec Murdaugh, who's already at war with the KKK and kicking their ass, said, okay, I would like to know who weaponized that man. And Nikki Haley wrote the whole book for that part because they sent Nikki Haley to collect that money from Alec Murdaugh. As if she sent the message about body cam legislation to herself. Because that's what that was all about. She made an effective move in this filthy, covert warfare. And her and Alec Murdaugh would have essentially been on the same side. But she, I don't think, had a clue what Alec Murdaugh was doing. And she got sent to collect that money. And she felt like she had done something wrong by taking that money from Alec. Because she was sent by the Ku Klux Klan. And she knew she was covering for them. She was Donald Trump's United Nations ambassador, on the day that she signed Alec Murdoch's check, she could have went to work the next day and said, boss, I don't know what this man is doing with this bank account or why these people have me collecting his check. But my signature is on that piece of paper, and I feel like I might have done something wrong, but I don't know what it is. She could have said that. She could have said, bro, and at that point, Donald Trump would have had everything he needed to a degree. To a degree. He was close enough. But, no, instead she goes and she squirms to Daniel Lubetsky and says, I don't know what that man's doing with that check, but I don't like my signature being there. Can you go deal with it? And Daniel Lubetsky said, bank accounts, yeah, I got, yup. And he said, all right, bro, so we're going to shut this one down. I need you to open up a brand new one because here's multi-trillions of dollars. Trillions upon trillions upon trillions. Okay? In Alec Murdoch's name at that point. Now, when we go looking at the globe, the entire human population, and we say trillions, where do we find trillions? We find trillions in grains of sand. We find trillions in, like, atoms. But, I mean, trillions of dollars. Okay? 3 entities. 3 separate, and I mean singular entities. I'm not talking about, like, a conglomeration or a corporation. I'm talking about when you say American national debt, that is one thing. We understand that is one lump sum of trillions that one entity is associated with, responsible for, whatever that's called. Okay? When we say adrenochrome industry, we might not know a single thing about it, but we understand that that is credited as being a multi-trillion-dollar industry. And the third singular entity, when you go looking for the word trillions, is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Trillion is trillion is trillion. I'll let you know that now. Because Saudi Arabia is the adrenochrome industry, is the American national debt. It's all the same thing. There ain't but one trillionaire in this entire world, and it's not a negative number at any point. Our debt masquerades as this industry because the industry, is fueled by crimes against humanity. The multi-trillions that are generated from endocrine systems being snatched out of a body, harvested for adrenaline to be oxidized and made into a shelf-stable product called adrenochrome. Those multi-trillions of dollars cannot appear on the stock market. They have to be accounted for. So publicly how they appear is the American national debt. So those trillions that is the adrenochrome industry, the American national debt being laundered into Saudi Arabia's positive bottom line, that was in Daniel Lubetsky's name from like 1994 until 2018 when Nikki Haley squirmed to him instead of Trump. And when she squirmed to Daniel Lubetsky, how many times is that ever going to happen that he just can magically check trillions from Saudi Arabia? I swear to God, when I remember when that part like crystallized, when I understood he's microchipped. Daniel Lubetsky is microchipped because he has Saudi Arabia's trillions in his name hiding. And it's the American national debt. It's what we think is the American national debt, but it's also the adrenochrome. It's the same thing, okay? Those trillions, they cannot show up as Saudi Arabia's because then somebody knows that Saudi Arabia has the adrenochrome industry. That is the adrenochrome industry. And, I mean, they're not American positive bottom line. So, like, they can't just sit in a bank account as positive bottom line. They have to be hidden away. And they were hidden in Daniel Lubetsky's name. So, he gets a hold of Alec Murdoch. And he really separated the money from the microchip. He said, I'm so sorry. Brilliant. Fucking genius. Crazy. But he really said, I'm microchipped because of all this money. Poof! Alec Murdoch was probably on board. I don't know Alec Murdoch like that. Me personally, though, like, I mean, either way, it doesn't matter whether Alec wanted to or not. He was enslaved for it. That's what it is. If you have that money in your name, it is because you are enslaved. Period. It doesn't matter whether it's Saudi Arabia to Daniel Lubetsky or Daniel Lubetsky from the dude with the tomatoes. It doesn't matter who gets a hold of who. It's just wherever the money lands. If you're caught with that money, it only means one thing, that you are the adrenochrome industry. If Saudi Arabia owns that shit, does that shit, cannibalizes people for the shit, but can't hold their own fucking money because it is crimes against humanity. Alright? So they ended up, the trillions, ended up in Alec Murdaugh's neck. Now we out here just call it all debt, and we don't understand that adrenochrome is the endocrine system being snatched out of a body with the adrenaline being harvested and converted into a shelf-stable product. But that's adrenochrome, okay? The way I got to Saudi Arabia to begin with is when I finally gave Daniel Lubetsky attention that he deserved, because I spent a long time with the crime scene, with the courtroom, making sure that I had Alec Murdaugh and his family as good as I could get them from everything that I could get from them. Okay? Only then did I really truly move on and say, now where else do I go? And I've known.
Kind bars.
Alright, it was April 2023, April 24th, 2023. And I watched the Attorney General plugging the kind bars. And I had gone to that press conference saying, listen, bro, I understand that it's a blade. Who drops the blade on Paul Murdaugh's forearms? Because it ain't gunshot wounds that killed him. It's blades on the forearms that killed him. And I knew that. And he said, kind bars. You don't put a billionaire at that courthouse. You don't put a billionaire in any courthouse. Unless they're associated with the crime scene. That's just logic, okay? So, and I've had people, I eat kind bar. Okay, so a whole bunch of people eat kind bar. Okay, cool, but you don't have the state's attorney general plugging the billionaire at the courthouse. You just don't. Snacks. He could have said snacks, but he said kind bars. So, April, I got his book in September. I realized his composite sketch, Alec Murdaugh's composite sketch, is Daniel Lubetsky's face. That must have been in November, maybe even December or January. Did I say 2024? It was April 24th, 2023 when I watched the Attorney General plugging the kind bars. It was September 2023 when I got Daniel Lubetsky's book, and I only read the table of contents that day, and I put it away and said, okay, that's what I need. I'm not ready for it. I understood adrenochrome. Not that it was endocrine system being snatched, adrenaline being harvested. I didn't understand. I just knew it. Whatever the fuck had happened to Paul Murdaugh, it was adrenochrome. I knew that because when I went to go try to talk about his hands being amputated, nobody could hear me. Nobody was going to listen to me. And it's like, it's in the evidence. It's literally in Paul Murdaugh's blood. You can see those two separate blood stains. Like, he's bleeding from his midsection twice, at least.
Check the pulses. I could see his brain on his...
That was June 18th, 2023, when I knew that whatever it was that happened, it was adrenochrome. I literally had to educate myself about adrenochrome. Like, Jokichi is the man who coined the word adrenaline. So once I understood that adrenochrome is not blood, it's adrenaline, once I understood that they're harvesting adrenaline for oxidation purposes, okay, I go to the man who coined the word adrenaline. And like that's all still me with Alec Murdaugh before I even branch out to kind bars, because I had to understand what adrenochrome was before I even approached Daniel Lubetsky. So
there's a cat, a wild cat.
The helicopter at the crime scene, that was November 2023. Nikki Haley's dental impressions, I saw the image and I screenshotted it December 2023, but it was February. Before I even went back on my phone and realized, like, I've got a picture of his cross-section bicep and those are dental impressions. And I already know everybody that's on the helicopter at the crime scene. Checked them. It's Nikki Haley. She was forced to bite a chunk out of Paul Murdaugh's arm because that's her signature in that second bank account. That's how Daniel Lubetsky got a hold of Alec Murdaugh's bank accounts. So as the killers are developing this crime scene, they would have been content with the court record. I'm positive of that. Because the way they put the bank accounts at the crime scene, like, get it to the court record because they ain't going to put it on the court record. So when it isn't on the court record, that woman over there on the other side of it, hi, that's me. It must be real fun, right? Head games. But it's okay. I'm okay. Been doing this my whole life. Excuse me. So I got everything that I needed to get from the crime scene, from the Murdoch family, from the courtroom, all of that, before I went to Daniel Lebetsky, and I mean his book, okay? When I went to his book, it was July 5th, 2024. I had already sung my first 2 songs, and I've only been particularly rude or mean to that man once. But before July 5th, in my mind, it was, fuck him for killing Paul Murdoch. Fuck him for all of this, okay? But when I sat down with his book, I literally said, you have 10 minutes to tell me where to direct this rage, this attention. If it's not you, what's on the other side of you? What is it that has you enslaved, essentially? And inside those 10 minutes, I flipped. I literally, the same way I do a Bible when I just need help, guidance, whatever it is, okay? I'll open it up randomly and just start reading. And that's what I did with Mr. Lebetsky's book because I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't have a clue. So, but I know I'm looking for whatever it is, the entity on the other side of you associated with adrenochrome. If it's not you, and I didn't ever really think it was him. So all along, I felt like I knew he was enslaved, or at least not the big dog. And I knew I was going to be aiming for something bigger than Daniel Lebetsky. So, with the book, I said, who's got you? Who enslaved you? Where does this attention go? Okay, if it's not you, tell me who it is. And the way he did it, and this is why I'm telling you, I had to know about adrenochrome before I approached him. Because if I didn't know that it was oxidized adrenaline, if I didn't know which chemical process takes fresh adrenaline to a shelf-stable product, that's chemistry, okay? As I'm reading his book, and it's towards the end of chapter 6, beginning of chapter 7, and that's where I had turned it to somewhere else first, and what he had done in those few little paragraphs that I read right there, he made me laugh a couple times, and I was pissed for that. I was like, fuck you, bro. I don't want to laugh at you. Ain't nothing funny right now. Nope. But he was making me laugh, and I was realizing that I was laughing because he was stressed. He was telling me these stories, these little anecdotes, where he's just stressed the fuck out. Just stressed. And I'm humored by it because, like, bro, I'm supposed to be raged out, you know? But he's making me laugh, and then I'm pissed that he's making me laugh. Which, again, hindsight, I'm sensitive to him being stressed out. And, like, he's telling it in a way that's funny enough, but, like, he's not telling you he's stressed. He's saying it in a funny way that you have to be sensitive and understand. That he had to formulate the plastic for a clear wrapper for his Kind brand snacks. And when you formulate a plastic, when you create a new plastic, literally he snapped his fingers in my face and he said, chemist, that's a chemist, chemist. Excuse me. And it wasn't an instant thing when he first said it. I read it and was like, plastic chemist, cool. And I kept on reading, and it's like the second or third page into chapter 7. And he says, clear wrappers, literally transparent. Put it in parentheses and everything. So it's like, okay, all right, chemist. It should have been instant 3 pages ago. It wasn't, but now I get it. So I go and I Google, who manufactures Kind brand wrappers? And they said, and I mean, this is 2024 at that point, and he published in 2015, and he's telling me a story from 2003 or 4 about the plastic chemist, because Kind brand snacks launched with the clear plastic, I'm pretty sure. So either way, I'm looking for who would have been around 2004. Even better, who's in the middle? Anyhow, so they said Mars, Lambell, Sabic. Sabic is the Saudi Arabia Basic Industry Corporation. So at that point, I'm like, okay. And that's how I got to Saudi Arabia from Alec Murdoch. So real simple. It was just Alec Murdoch's on trial. The Attorney General's like, it's not me dropping the chainsaw on Paul Murdoch's forearms. Go look at the Kind bar, dude. And I'm like, Kind bars? And he's like, well, I mean, adrenochrome. Saudi Arabia. So. And I think that's all I really need to say for this miniature little bibliography and comprehensive little story about Alec Murdoch's bank accounts. Because that's what it's all about. They could have just put the bank accounts on the court record the first time Mark Tinsley had asked. Nope. Not the second, third, fourth, or 17th time he asked that. We got COVID to not get Alec Murdoch's bank accounts. And the killers at the crime scene spelled the contents out the best they could. Like Paul Murdoch's endocrine system. That's the third bank account. Nikki Haley's dental impressions. That's the second bank account. And then the first bank account is the fact that, how did we get a court record? We got a court record for 2 gunshot wounds into Paul Murdoch, but not the amputation of his hands or the removal of his endocrine system. Because the KKK. So. It's a lot of atrocities. Shit you gotta tell yourself. A lot of head games. But you know, it's alright. Got a mind. I know how to play. I know how to let y'all play without playing me. So, even though, I mean, I gotta play myself at this point, right? I had to. Couldn't not. No way I couldn't not. And the only reason why I say anything about it now is because what's the worst they're gonna do? Snatch my endocrine system? Put me on a fucking tandem board with a VR headset sucking my consciousness? Falsely imprison me and do that to me too? Because I think that's what happened to Alec Murdoch. I honestly believe that man might be on a tandem board, stuck in a VR headset, with shit running down his leg. Just waste all over himself. And if not him, Dylan Roof. And if not them, nobody deserves it. But all the pieces are sitting right there. I got to the tandem board. I mean, I got there quick. That was the first thing I saw when I saw Daniel Levetsky, was that he invests in tandem boards, hammocks, and an egg white protein source. I said, bruh, all you need is a VR headset. That's all you need. I knew that before the endocrine system part of all this. I knew about Paul Murdoch's hand amputations before I even went to the courtroom, because I started with the evidence and paid attention to what Alec Murdoch was trying to tell me about his own story. Well after the fact. It was already said and done. The verdict was a week old before the dude even got my attention. But lots of hell. Lots of filth and lots of atrocities. And you have to tell yourself, because the Attorney General said 2 gunshot wounds in Paul Murdoch, nothing more his daddy did. It's such a piece of shit. Go listen to that podcast. So, yep, that's my little bibliography. That's all I really need to say, I think. I don't know. I suck at speaking. Kind of just hanging out with the camera at this point. Like, I sing to y'all every day. Why not just kick it?